All right. Very warm welcome to everyone. We have with us Pujya Srimat Swami Satyapriyanandaji Maharaj, who is right now at Belur Mat. He is a very senior monk and a very accomplished scholar. We are very blessed that we have him with us here in our midst on this very important National Youth Day 2022, January 12th. We have also with us Dr. S. Viswanath, who's a retired scientist and director of NAL, who's here with us to share his thoughts on this very important occasion of National Youth Day. A very warm welcome. We start with the invocation.
गणानां त्वा गणपतिगं हवामहे कविं कवीनामुपमश्रवस्तमम् ज्येष्ठराजं ब्रह्मणां ब्रह्मणस्पत आनः शृण्वन्नोतिभिः सीदसादनम् महागणपतये नमः। प्रणो देवी सरस्वती वाजेभिर्वाजिनीवती धीनामवित्र्यवतु वाग्देव्यै नमः। ॐ स्थापकाय च धर्मस्य सर्वधर्मस्वरूपिणे अवतारवरिष्ठाय रामकृष्णाय ते नमः। जननीं शारदां देवीं रामकृष्णं जगद्गुरुं पादपद्मे तयोः श्रित्वा प्रणमामि मुहुर्मुहुः। नमः श्रीयतिराजाय विवेकानन्दसूरये सच्चित्सुखस्वरूपाय स्वामिने तापहारिणे। ॐ सर्वे भवन्तु सुखिनः सर्वे सन्तु निरामयाः सर्वे भद्राणि पश्यन्तु मा कश्चित् दुःखभाग् भवेत्। ॐ शान्तिः शान्तिः शान्तिः।
Namaste. A very warm welcome to you, Pujya Srimat Swami Satyapriyanandaji Maharaj. A very warm welcome to you, Dr. S. Viswanath, and a very warm welcome to all the viewers of this program, as and when they join us and whichever time they are going to view it in the coming days and weeks and months. This is the National Youth Day program of Vivekananda Janoththana Trust, trust comprising a group of young and spirited professionals who are very keen in reaching out the message of Swami Vivekananda to the youth, both here within India as well as abroad. Why is this important? The National Youth Day program is a very important day for all of us, especially the youngsters. Today is the auspicious birthday of Swami Vivekananda, the giant patriot saint of India, who has aroused the inner spirit and the energies of millions of youth so they could put it to productive use for the service of the society. Today we have with us Srimat Swami Satyapriyanandaji Maharaj, a very accomplished scholar. He is a student of IIT Madras. He did his BTech, MS and PhD in chemical engineering from IIT Madras, and he went on to do his postdoctoral fellowship at Illinois Institute of Technology at Chicago. After that, he responded to his inner call, the call of the purpose of life, and he joined the Ramakrishna Mutt as a monk and continued to do his work in service of Indian youth, in the youth across the world, and he was very actively associated with a number of educational institutions, apart from being the guide and leader to a number of congregations of the Ramakrishna order at various places, including Salem, including at Patna, and other places. Srimad Swami Satyapriyanandaji Maharaj has been an editor of the very famous journal called the Prabhuddha Bharata of the Ramakrishna order, and He has been a prolific writer as well. He has written a number of articles. Pujya Swamiji, we are indeed very blessed to have you with us here today, and we would be having this very interesting conversation that I would like to hear from you all, both Pujya Swamiji yourself as well as Dr. Viswanath, on Vivekananda. What is he to the Indian youth? What is Vivekananda to the Indian youth? Or what is Vivekananda for the Indian youth? Let me introduce Dr. S. Viswanath. Dr. S. Viswanath did his bachelor's from IIT Madras. Of course, he is from Karnataka, but is a very, very accomplished and prolific scholar. He is an aerospace scientist. And very interestingly, both Pujya Swamiji and Dr. S. Viswanath were staying together in the same hostel in adjacent rooms. And that is what makes it very interesting for today, very special for today. And there are a lot of experiences that we would like to hear from you, sir. Of course, Dr. S. Viswanath went on to do his master's and PhD from the Indian Institute of Science, even as he was working for the National Aeronautical Laboratories (NAL), where he rose up the ranks through his professional, profuse contributions to the development of technology in India in the world of aerospace, and retired as the director of NAL. Dr. S. Vishwanath is very active amongst the youth. He reaches out to a lot of them and has been inspiring them through a number of messages, essentially giving to them what he got inspired by. And today, being the National Youth Day, sir, we'd like to hear from you a number of interesting things. Those days, these days, if I kind of summarize it in just two phrases, those days, these days, because uh, today, being National Youth Day, there has been a number of programs being organized not only within Bangalore, across India, but across the world. And there are so many people tuning in, especially online, given this very unfortunate pandemic that's so very widespread today across the world, that we are all on the virtual world, the metaverse, if I may kind of say so, the world of online. And the good thing about the online world is that distance shrinks, the whole world becomes a small village, and people can join from anywhere. In fact, we are so fortunate to have Swamiji join from Belurmat in Calcutta, and Dr. S. Vishwanath from Bengaluru, and this message is possibly being watched by folks from across the world. So, which is very interesting, right? So, on this occasion, very warm welcome to you, sir. So let me start with this big question that is the topic of the day. The topic of this conversation is, what is Vivekananda for the Indian youth? It's a question, right? And the whole idea of this particular conversation is that 70, maybe 50, 60 years back, when both of you were youth, you all went through a certain kind of life. You all saw some kinds of challenges. You all had the access to wisdom by which you are able to pull yourselves up into people of certain leadership capability that actually added a lot of value to the society around. And today you are there, a lot of wisdom, watching the society unravel in its own contradictions around you. What is Vivekananda for the Indian youth? Puja Swamiji, briefly share your thoughts. I understand that you are a little unwell, but we are so happy that you are with us, Swamiji. Thank you so much. Please share your thoughts. What is Vivekananda to the Indian youth?
Well, the question should be, what is Vivekananda to the youth?
Okay.
He is not specifically for the Indian youth.
Yes.
You know, he was brought down from Saptarishi Mandala by Sri
Mm-hmm.
Ramakrishna
Mm-hmm.
to remove the misery of humanity, not
Yes.
merely Indians. And at that time, Narendranath did not understand.
Yes.
Unless the Guru opens the eyes, the disciple cannot see the merit. So Sri Ramakrishna told him, "You are the ancient sage Nara, incarnation of Narayana, born on earth to remove the miseries of mankind." Narendranath's reaction was, "I am but the son of Viswanath. What is this person saying? He is a monomaniac." And Narendra did not believe in the Brahman and all those things which is talked about in the Upanishads, in the Vedas, nor did he believe in image worship. So this is the instrument Sri Ramakrishna brought down on earth for fulfilling his mission. The whole of Narendra's life If you see, he was born in 1963, 12th January. Now everybody must be knowing that. And he came to Sri Ramakrishna in 1981 at the age of 18 and lived with the master for 5 years. Just 5 years, Sri Ramakrishna trained him for the job. And after that, after Mahasamadhi of Sri Ramakrishna, he went all over India, feeling the pulse of the people. And he understood the Indians are alive in religion. They are good people, but they are suffering. And he was really intrigued about the reason for suffering and how to find a way out. Then he went to the US in 1893. You must imagine this, the person, why he is a role model for the youth. Most adverse circumstances, with very little money, with very little warm clothing, not knowing where to go, to attend the Parliament of Religions as a delegate without being enrolled, without being recognized by somebody as their representative, and in a beautiful country where begging is not allowed. And a monk lives by begging. So you can imagine the whole thing was very, very much against anybody's survival. In fact, in some letters he writes, "You gave me this much money, now this much alone remains. A cigar costs $1. So these things are very costly. And then people are cheating him because of his pure clothes. People are making fun of him. Undaunted, Sri Ramakrishna's foremost disciple, Vivekananda, stood and spoke in the Parliament of Religions. You will see also, if you study the life, everything is somewhat mysteriously arranged. The person who has to meet and make arrangements for him, they're all coming and joining him and taking them to their house, and then he is able to meet the public, talk to them, and he gets a certificate to question you. The right is to question the sun, its right to shine. And so he goes and talks, and he is the man for the day. And now all these things are possible because of the grace of Sri Ramakrishna. So today's youth, I'm very sorry to say, they believe in personal effort. Personal effort is good, but that comes from God's grace. Just by wishing that I will be someone such a thing, it is not possible to be there. And in fact, God guides us. He takes us through certain steps. We find sometimes that we suffer, we are not able to move ahead. Then we should understand that is God's way of telling us, not this way, go this way. And finally, He takes us to what He wants us to do. And the whole of life is to finish the purpose for which we are born and then go back to Him. So today, when you find the youth are not sure about a role model, they have so many people as role models. When they are confused, it is necessary to study some books. Vivekananda, his call to the nation. Vivekananda to the youth of India. Vivekananda on India and her problems. Vivekananda's letters. So when we were students in IIT, Chennai, there was one Swami Tathagathanaji. He was in Ramakrishna Mission Students' Home in Mylapore, and he would come and we would sit under a tree and he would talk. Not that I grasped everything, but that was a great thing which that Swami did. And now that has flourished, it has become a big, big thing there. Many people are attending, many people are interested in Vivekananda, and that's what we have to do, spread the message. Spread many messages. One is the history of the country. People do not know the history of the country. Today is a glaring example of that. When we are celebrating the 75th year of independence, what is in the back of my mind? We were not independent before that. We never existed. That is a very unfortunate way of looking at things. We have been the Sanatana Dharma. We have been eternally present. Now, just because that brightness is masked for a brief while, 1,000 years is nothing compared to the history of nations. So it doesn't mean, that's what Swamiji says. When you look at this country, what does it look like? It's a building tumbled down in ruins. But then he says there is hope. What is the analogy he gives? So there are some stories told to children. There's a ghost. And you cannot kill the ghost until you kill a bird, because the life of the ghost is in the bird. So that is how it is. So, quoting this kind of a story, which is believed, Swamiji said, religion is that chidiya, that bird. As long as religion is not touched, nobody can harm India. This is something which I want Dr. Mohan also to understand. I am also Dr. Mohan, he is also Dr. Mohan. That there is no fear for the country. There is no fear for the country until we give up religion, take to something else. Politics, commercial things, technology. If you go in that direction, forgetting religion, then in 3 generations you will be off. That is the warning Sri Ram Swamiji has given. So these things we must remember and not think that this religion is something that is spooky. No, there is a religion which everybody follows. Goes to the temple, performs rituals at home, offers salutations to the parents, to the teachers. These are all conventional practices, going to places of pilgrimage. And for householders, observing Shraddha and all this, Upanayam. All this ritualistic is good. But Swamiji says the real thing is unselfishness. All the qualities okay, even if you're not unselfish, you have a problem. That is what we find all over the world. They are not unselfish, they are selfish. Talk of USA, talk of Europe, talk of Greece, talk of any other place, Pakistan, China, they want to grab. They want to put India in a very bad position. Even, what we call the two and a half war, the two war is outside the country, the half war within the country from politicians. The idea is to see that the country doesn't grow. Now, this is the demon against which the youth have to work. And the youth force is a great blessing to the country because the population of the youth in this country is very much more. And therefore, people in a way say, we are a young country. It's not we are a young country, we are a very old country with a lot of young people. So when they say India is a young nation, they think, 1947, that is when India began. That is not the idea. India is a young nation because the spirited youth, boys and girls are in plenty in our country, and therefore they will work out the salvation of this land. What they have to do is try to study, try to build a career, no doubt. Earning a job is good. You must do it. Cannot live without performing any work. That is what Sri Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita. You cannot remain without doing any work. But what we have to do is to do those things which are beneficial for the progress of the country. What our Prime Minister Modi is always saying, Atmanirbharta, Atma Vishwas. These things are necessary. And we are a result of a slave nation. And so what is predominant in our psyche is jealousy. So Swami Vivekananda says, avoid jealousy, avoid suspicion. Try to help all those who are doing good to others. And if you read all the books on Swami Vivekananda, his works, his mandate, then you'll find why he is giving so much of things which are beneficial for the youth and which will help India to come back to not the dream of Vivekananda, but the vision of Vivekananda. This is another word which I want to stress. Swami Vivekananda never dreamt. Swami Vivekananda had a vision of India more glorious than ever before, seated on an eternal throne, this mother of all nations. So that is what India used to be, and it is going towards that. Anybody may try to say no, but no power can stop her growth now. This is why I say Swami Vivekananda is for the youth. And it is also for the West because he said, unless you enforce your spiritual principles in a practical way, you are going to face another world war. And we had 2 world wars already. The 3rd world war will be a terrible catastrophe. And in some sense, that is what is going to happen, I see. And what happens is those are inimical to human welfare kill themselves and die. There's a God, there's a mother. Swami Vivekananda says there's a mother. Let us not forget it. And she takes our children. So this country is special. The mother of India, she is there. She is protecting this country the seat of all scriptural knowledge and attainments. Otherwise, how do you explain that in this land, as a strong contrast to other countries, incarnations come from now and then every time. Philosophers come and they preach their philosophies. Well, why is it that this land has been chosen for this purpose? Because there are two things. One is religion, as understood spirituality, is the life center of the country. That is the bird which is alive, so the nation cannot die. Shall India die? No, India cannot die. And then what is supposed to do? This religion, this knowledge of scriptural truths, India, her children have to disseminate to other countries when they need. So when somebody wants something, you give them. Somebody wants food, so you give food. But when some nations want spiritual help, then this sannyasi is the person who is to do it. Shiva, the blessings and a begging arm. So we beg for many things, but our blessings are the things that are supporting the entire world.
Beautiful.
So
Beautiful,
let us
Maharaj.
understand this. Now I would like to hear from Viswanath also,
Yes, yes,
because
yes.
he has
Dr. Vishwanath,
definitely a perception.
please share your thoughts. What is Vivekananda for youth? Not just Indian youth, but the universal youth.
Yeah.
And I would also add one more small footnote to it. Not only youth in age, but youth who are young at heart, like you. Please go ahead.
Okay. First, let me give out my pronouns to Maharaj. The moment I think of Satyapriyanandaji means my mind goes to IIT of 70s. They were living together and studying together at wonderful days.
1971 to 1973, you were
Yes,
adjacent roommates in IIT
Yeah.
Madras. Very interesting.
Another secret is we had initiation together from
together.
Swami
Yes.
Viswanath
Oh,
on the
very
same
interesting.
day, 5th of August
Same together.
1972.
Guru Bhai.
We're a Guru Bhai.
Yes.
Right. Okay, with that background, I think many of the points which had to be told about the youth of India and youth in general, Maharaj already mentioned, and some of the points he has brought out very nicely. Let me look from the as a spiritual man, as a monk. He has rightly put in the points perspective of the religion, spirituality, and what youth need to look for. Let me look from the other side of the life. To give a little bit of background of this, my going to IIT, he made a point, one important point. Today's youth think that everything will be got by just you know the self effort. We have very good message from Bhagavad Gita and the 18th chapter. What says Adhisthana, Karana, Karana, etc. And finally, Panchamam, he adds Daivam. You may do everything, but there is what is called unseen factor called Daivam. That we have to accept, but at the same time put in the self. Having this point in mind, if I look back nearly more than 50 years now, my going to IIT itself was that. Getting degree became a secondary one, and getting in touch with persons like Maharaj and his another colleague, so his friend at the time in the IIT itself, and both of them I met in Bangalore in Ramakrishna Ashram for the first time. I did not meet them in IIT. I hope Maharaj remembers that. They introduced by another one great senior great Swamiji living in Bellumat itself today. So that's how the life starts. Then you start thinking about the life and our initiation, as you mentioned, our association with the Mailapur Ramakrishna Mutt. And then onwards, my whole thinking about the life itself took a different turn. What is all about? Is it engineering? Realizing something in profession? Studying myself? What kind of life I need to lead for this? To achieve our purpose of life, goal of life. That's where the whole thing just started. Then onwards, of course, coming from IIT to entering the aerospace laboratories, every step last next 35 years, I could clearly see there's somebody driving my life as it is today also. I never planned my life. No blueprint I made for the either for the academic or for the professional life. It is happening, and it happens to, as of today also. My association with Ramakrishna Ashram here, Bangalore, last more than 50 years now, back from the time I came landed back in Bangalore. A few points I would summarize sometimes when I speak to young youths. Three important points I put forth to them, not going deep into the present scenario of the country and the world. Even otherwise, important three, I call it three C's. Three C's. In mathematics, you have these three C's: continuity, completeness, and what one more third one? Hmm, I forget the third one. And these three C's definition is different here in this context. Is first is everybody young and youth, this country should have an understanding of the country. That means background history of the country, culture, social, cultural, and religious background of the. We have very long history of thousands of years. For example, our ancient scripture, what we call as Rig Vedam, is more than 10,000 years old. And then coming down to your Ramayana, Mahabharata, at least a little bit of the knowledge of this and what way it has come up and lived till today and going to live forever. The principles and the teachings of this Vedic teachings and our scriptural teachings in general is going to live forever. And that is the basis of this whole country's strength. That's what Swamiji emphasized also throughout. Even in the West, Swamiji told what he talked was the Vedic teachings that Vedanta. First, Swamiji's first work was in Gnana Yoga based on Vedanta only. It's all the Upanishads. Why, Swami, is it irrelevant for us? If it is relevant for West, it is more relevant for Indians today. Not only that, Swamiji's very important thing, another yoga is the Karma Yoga. Karma Yoga, which means, yes, we need to work, do work. Today, countries require young people to understand this Karma Yoga concept. Do the like work for oneself or work for humanity? That is what Swamiji's motto of the Ramakrishna mission also. Atmano mokshartam jagadhitaya. When once you work for Atmana mokshartha, jagadhita naturally follows. So keeping that in mind, if you enter any profession for that matter, today just for the sake of with my background of aerospace and defense background, the country needs the youth, really committed youth. If space department is doing very well compared to any other department today in the country, there is because I had the association for nearly 30 years with the space department, though working at NL. The challenges that we face in the development of technologies, either in defense or in space, in terms of the rocketry or the space, satellites, or in the aircraft. It is really huge, huge, huge. All of you, I know that how much money we spend in defense, acquiring things as of today. But much more, of course, things are changing slowly with the present government supporting a lot of developments as well as production, etc. For that, we need to have proper skill developed in each one of us. See, as I sometimes speak on what you call as a triangle of success. All of you know triangle has three sides. Assuming it is a equilateral triangle. If you take the base of the triangle as the fundamentals of the subjects you study, either in graduation up to let's say graduation and beyond that, you have assuming you have all the knowledge of the physics, science, mathematics, etc. Then the other side of the triangle is the one that where you pick up several skills. Skills could be technical skills, human skills, management skills, all types of skills. Generally, we think with these two, I can go to accept any career and then be a successful person in the profession. But the third side of the triangle is very, very important. That all comes from the teachings of Swamiji. Attitude. attitude plays, the research shows, in this triangle of success, the attitude contributes to nearly 20%, rather 80% to the success in any profession. And that too when you are working in a team. See, major things cannot be, success cannot be obtained either at the country level or individual level unless you work in the right attitude in the team spirit. That's where but the three C's. First is the country, then comes the understanding the culture. Team spirit is also working in a team is a culture. So the right attitude for the to be adopted at any level, as at the entry level or in even as a CEO or as a team leader. So attitude is, if you have to read Swamiji's talks and letters to understand these concepts. So understanding the country's culture, and adding to the culture of the country also. Understand the culture, and for the progress of the culture also we need to work. And last one is very, very important in the three C's, is the character. Today, see, that character means generally we take morality. Morality is not the only one point in that. Even how do I, at home, for example, how do you conduct yourself with your, maybe it could be parents, or could be partner, your friends in the office. How do you conduct all the, whatever the things you, wherever you stage of the professional, this thing, how you conduct yourself. So the character is the most important things. I can go on elaborating each of these points, but this is not the platform for that. And we, as of today, Swamiji's messages for young India and youth of this India, we're all celebrating this, and it is very. When we were young, at your age, maybe 50 years back, this Swamiji is here. This is what he called today is youth. National Youth Day was not heard about, but we all read Swamiji, heard Swamiji, and followed Swamiji also, either by choice or it has come to most of us like that. And most important thing, that turning point that came to me after leaving IIT was my visit to Kanyakumari in December of 1974 or 75, if I remember correctly. I think most of you know there is in Vyas is there in Jigani, Vivekananda Kendra.
Swami Vivekananda.
Yes,
Yoga
Dr.
Center.
Nagendra. Dr. Nagendra is the Chancellor or Vice Chancellor?
He's the
Myself and
founding chancellor.
Yes, myself and Dr. Nagendra spent one full week at Vivekananda Kendra, Kanyakumari. At that time, this Vyas and the Vivekananda University was not there. That gave the turning point, living at the foot of the India. All thoughts gathered together. Sorry.
Yeah.
So some of the points, I think, let this lead to some further discussion. Mohan, I will hand over back to
I think
you, to
what
Maharaj.
you have brought out, what Puja Swamiji and you have brought out, is the relevance of Swami Vivekananda in the contemporary times, more so addressing the big question, which was the topic of this whole conversation, which is what is Vivekananda for the youth, for the Indian youth, for the youth of the whole world. And it came out in so many of your personal anecdotes and experiences. Of course, the question now comes is, those days, 50 years back, you all did not have a National Youth Day. But you all came across Vivekananda, you could see the contemporary society around, you could feel the dire need for a role model like Vivekananda, because when you saw it, you immediately went for it, you imbibed and emulated the values and traits and character that Vivekananda had aroused in you all, and it made a big difference in your lives. But today we have a National Youth Day. We have Vivekananda being talked about by so many people. What was the difference between then and now? And what do you think people should do now to leverage the National Youth Day in a good way? Puji Swamiji, your brief thoughts on that?
What should be done is not in our hands.
Okay.
We as a people talk much, do
Okay.
little. That is our
Yes.
fault.
Very true.
We must try to remember what Swamiji stood for. One, faith. Have faith in yourself. Have faith in others. This is something which will help us. Then, as Dr. Viswanath said, character building. And then again, team spirit. So there are so many points. Then there is called centralization and decentralization. The heart he has taken as an example.
Hmm.
It brings the blood from all the parts of the body to itself.
Right.
But if the heart doesn't leave it, he will die. That
Yes.
heart again sends the blood to other parts.
Right.
So this is a beautiful idea, centralization and decentralization. And about education itself, Swamiji had wonderful thoughts. He said, I will forget everything. If I could do it, if I had the power, I will forget all that I have learned. In fact, becoming a monk, I have done that. All my chemical engineering is gone down the drain. But he says, you train the mind so that it can remove itself from a topic and choose a topic and apply it there and master it. This is how all the masters did it. They had the
Hmm.
tremendous power of concentrating the mind. So he says you concentrate the mind on the nature reveals the secrets to you.
Okay.
So this is the way things happen. And
Okay.
we always live a life without trying to see meaning.
Hmm.
As Dr. Viswanath also agreed, all these things which we do happens by a divine will.
Right.
See, look at me, I was in Konnagar. Konnagar is in West Bengal. And I was studying in National High School, Balingaj, then St. Xavier's College. So that street had this Seva Pratishthan. But I didn't go there. Why did I not go there? Because there was no effort from my side. Then why did I go to Chennai Mutt in Mylapore? Because the effort was from the side of God. God
Okay.
takes you there. That is how things happen. And to understand this itself is a great spiritual progress, and I really congratulate Dr. Viswanath have noticed it. Not that all that we do happens by will, and that's why people are frustrated. I want
Right.
this, I want that. It doesn't happen. It doesn't happen that way. Surrender, surrender, that is the way. So Swamiji also questions Sri Ramakrishna. And then finally what happened? Swamiji writes, I used to hate Kali and her ways, but I loved that man, Sri Ramakrishna. And he made me over to Kali.
Perfect.
How it happened is a secret I will not divulge. Swamiji says that. I will not divulge
Hmm.
it. He
Okay.
says, my family was in straitened circumstances. Now, if you look at this only, it is atrocious for God to bring Narendranath on earth and make his family situation very bad. His father dies
Hmm.
and lots of debts. How
Yes.
will his mother, other people at home live? He is not getting a job.
Right.
So today's youth will get crushed at that time.
Yes.
But Swamiji says, Narendra says, he somehow knew of my afflictions and in
Mm.
spite of me brought me to him.
Okay.
See, not that I wanted to go to Ramakrishna to find a solution. He is bringing me. So the moment you try to understand your life, that
Hmm.
you are being made to do what you're doing according to God's will, then you will appreciate the drama much more. You will not
Okay.
suffer. You will say, this is happening because of a particular reason, which in my limited mind, I may not able to see. So
Super.
then when picture opens up, then you find, oh, I was in Konnagar. I used to go to the schools and somebody used to accompany me. I never lived
Hmm.
alone. Somebody would take me, somebody would bring me back. When I came to IIT, I had to stay in a hostel away from home. And then my parents came back there. Then weekly once I used to go home. So this is not enough. He must be taken away from home. Just see, that is why I went to Chicago. No
Okay.
other reason. In Chicago, I am so far away that when I returned to India to become a monk, parents didn't know it.
Oh.
And then he brings certain situations in the lives of others which open your eyes.
Mm-hmm.
that having received education, having been initiated by a guru, having the company of monks, having done some spiritual practice, yet
Right.
our vision had not opened to the unreality of the world.
Mm.
So when that happens, then you see nothing can do. So people try to ask, why did you study and why did you join the order? There
Right.
is no why in it. The
Yes.
question why itself is
Exactly.
meaningless if you understand that we are puppets in the hands of the Divine Mother. She is bringing it, she is doing it, and
Okay.
enjoy her play. That is, there
Right.
is nobody is great, nobody is small. Dr.
Right.
Viswanath, he also wanted to join the order, but because of his mother, he had to stay back and take care of her. That doesn't make him
Mm.
any little less because you see his realizations are the fruit of his guru's initiation.
Right.
And that is what is helping. And that will be a given a kind of conviction in the minds of all the devotees that they are
Right.
being guided by Sri Ramakrishna and their guru.
Right.
So don't look for small things, look for big things.
Big
The
things.
understanding that you are being handled by great power. So that's what
Yes.
Swamiji also says. You see, how I got transformed, I cannot tell, I will not reveal. Because he said
Mm-hmm.
to Narendra,
Mm.
go and pray to the Divine Mother for removal
Right.
of your worldly wants. Thrice he
Mm.
went and prayed for knowledge, bhakti, viveka, vairagya. And Ramakrishna is laughing. So you are not destined to pray for this. He
Oh.
knows.
Mm.
He knows who knows everything from a global perspective, and we know things from a local perspective. So
Right.
all our decisions from a local perspective are bound to be incorrect.
Okay.
So then Sri Ramakrishna told him, don't worry, your people will not suffer for want of coarse food and clothing. So that is how
Okay.
Vivekananda understood the power of Sri Ramakrishna. But then he is a great person who questioned. Today's
Right.
youth must know this. Religion is not a fancy.
Yes.
Narendranath has studied, and with his capable mind, he had questions,
Mm-hmm.
he had investigated his own guru, and come to the
Mm-hmm.
conviction that there is no equal to him.
Right.
It is not a common farmer who is telling, but a graduated student of the Calcutta University who is saying that he is no peer. So much love, even my mother did not have, even my parents did not have. So this is the thing. And then Sri Ramakrishna said many things,
Yes.
but Narendranath got it, like
Yes.
Sivagyana Jiva Seva. That
Right.
Sivagyana Jiva Seva, combining the four yogas, how to do it, that was
Mm-hmm.
taught by Sri Ramakrishna, and Narendranath understood it. Then
Oh.
Sri Ramakrishna went on tour with Mathur Babu and then
Mm-hmm.
seeing people who are not well, who don't have oil, who are not taken bath. He said, oh, so many people are there. You give them oil, ask them to have a bath, then give them food. Then
Right.
Mathur Babu said, then our tour is gone. I'll have to spend a lot of money. It's not possible. So Sri Ramakrishna said, I am sitting here. I will not move until they are
Okay.
satisfied. So this
Right.
Sivajnana Jiva Seva he demonstrated in another place also. And
Okay.
now we take this Vivekananda going to America, and
Mm-hmm.
what has happened there? This, this the Ingersoll incident everybody knows.
Right.
Then who is the other person? Yamma Kav everybody knows.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the other person, I forget the name always.
James.
This,
Dr. James.
no, the foundation in his name.
Mm.
Ford.
Huh?
Ford
Ford.
Foundation? No. 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 No.
Keep what name?
No. Ford Foundation? No.
No. So this person was there, and Swamiji was sitting there. The person came.
Mm-hmm.
So, like in the case of Emma Kaur, he went on telling about that person's life story.
Okay.
And then he said, all that money which you have got is for serving people.
Right.
They said, this Heathen, who is that fellow to tell me? And he got out very angry. He came in very angry, he got out very angry. After some days, he went and said, look at this paper. So that was the first donation he made for a public cause.
Oh.
And that person said, now you can thank me. Swamiji said, "It is for you to thank me."
This is for
This
your.
idea of grabbing and grasping and retaining for oneself and not giving,
Mm-hmm.
that is very bad. So that is what
Right.
Sri Ramakrishna and Swamiji showed, that you take everything, you get everything, but then process it and give it to others. So that is
Yes.
how you must live your life.
Wonderful. 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 Dr. Vishwanath, what is National Vivekananda Youth Day for you? National Youth Day for you?
Youth?
Day for you.
Oh, it is to remind myself, take challenges in life.
Wow. To
See,
remind yourself to take challenges
yes,
in life.
challenges
Look.
life,
Right.
particularly today's Indian scenario
Mhm.
in general science and technology.
Okay.
We can't be depending on foreign countries forever.
Okay.
So I would like to tell the youths who are watching, after 75 years, the very only first fighter aircraft today India has only our LCA, the Tejas, which development has taken nearly 40 years,
Right.
started in 83.
Hmm.
So it is not acceptable. Though
Right.
it is now the aircraft is going to the service. In Second World War time, it just had given information. In the world, actually, every one month, 30 aircrafts were produced.
Oh.
Some of them are new. That means
Hmm.
almost one aircraft per day kind of design.
Okay.
But I'm just giving an example because there are several technology areas, there are several areas, otherwise outside also. Unless we are able to take challenges, opportunities are plenty today. It is not like
Right.
what it was 30, 40 years. When we were young, when we came out of the universities, there were only four public sectors in Bangalore.
Hmm.
Today,
Public sector companies in
it
Bangalore.
hundreds, hundreds.
Hundreds are there. Right.
We should be not just for as a profession to earn money, at the same
Right.
time contribute to the country in terms
Okay.
of science and technology.
Beautiful.
Opportunities are there. This is what Swamiji wanted. Unless we young people come out and take the responsibility on their own, and keeping country in mind, that is my
Hmm.
important. Not
Wow.
individual. Individual will always progress will
Right.
be there. But once the
Right.
country progress, we are ultimately also progress.
Right.
So there is no. So this is one challenge. We should be able to take challenges at the cost of even our own lives.
Oh. Okay. Very
And
interesting.
of course, there are further. I expect young people to go through the visions which Swamiji has, and also his
Hmm.
mission in life
Okay.
through his. And there's a talk itself by Swamiji. Its title itself, "My Mission in Life,"
Okay.
and
That's
there
something which youngsters should go through.
we should go through that. And the youth of India, that is the
Hmm.
starting
Just
point.
another title. Right.
Yes, and Colombo to Almora
Almora.
talks.
Right.
Very inspiring talks. I think most of the Vivekananda's followers would have started with that,
Yes.
and then comes all the complete works of Vivekananda and many other things that follow.
Hmm.
So to start with, keeping country in mind,
Hmm.
whatever may be the career or profession they're going to follow,
Hmm.
keeping the Swamiji's teachings in the background. If you
Okay.
work, country is definitely going to come back. It's
Beautiful.
all goes.
So
And
what you're
this is
saying is, very simply put, on this National Youth Day, the citizens, the young citizens of this country and the young citizens across the world should aspire to get inspired by Swami Vivekananda. They should be able to grow into enlightened citizens so
enlightened
they can
citizens.
add value to the society around and
Yeah,
lead a more harmonious, meaningful, happy life.
right.
That's a very interesting aspiration that every youth should
It
aspire
should
to.
help, right?
Wonderful, wonderful. That's a very interesting perspective, Doctor. So here comes a interesting question. All right. So we have the National Youth Day is being celebrated across the nation with so many events happening, especially involving, engaging, and benefiting the youth of today. Now, Vivekananda is considered the patriot saint of India, right? Now, one of the things that happens, which I've seen to the youth, not only within India but across the world, is as soon as they grow up, once they graduate out of school, and then get into college, they have this fierce sense of self, and they want to be active. They want to get into activism. They want to add value to the society at large. They want to fight the injustices of the society. They want to kind of say that, look, there's climate change happening everywhere and we are not doing anything. Our future is at stake, so we should do something for climate change. They see that their energies are plenty, so they can dream to bring about, in quotes, revolution. Now, obviously, the flip side of this is that there are so many of this very, what do you call, unsavory, malified, manipulative entities in the world who capture these energies and then channelize it into activities which are detrimental to the society. We can see these kinds of things happening in the campuses across the world, campuses in India, right? Especially the interesting campuses in Delhi or in West Bengal. So, Puja Swamiji, how should the youth channelize their energies by having a role model like Vivekananda, who's a patriot saint of India? What is the patriot saint role model that Vivekananda embodies that the Indian youth should look out for and assimilate within themselves? Puja Swamiji.
Swami Vivekananda has said that nations, like individuals, must raise themselves. That
Okay,
Uddared Atmanatmadam, one has raised oneself by one's own effort. That is applicable to individuals. It is applicable to the collection of individuals called the nation. So he defines patriotism very well by saying, do you have the heart to feel for the misery of so many millions of people who are descendants of God as
wonderful,
next door neighbors to brutes?
wonderful.
See,
In
we can
fact,
understand.
Swamiji, I just want to bring this question also because you brought it up. So the question is being asked by Subhash Chandra Bhagi. He says,
I
what is
read it.
purity according to Swamiji? So you were just touching upon it. I thought, let me bring up the question also.
Yes, I'll answer this question and answer that also.
Yes,
So
please.
have a heart to feel for the miserable conditions. Now,
Right.
when we are in a family situation, we are bothered about our own families, our own parents, our own sisters
Hmm.
and brothers and near relatives.
Right.
What did Rama say?
Yes.
And when you don't become a king, that is the natural thing anybody should do.
Right.
But when becomes the king, then
Hmm.
one goes beyond all personal relationships. He becomes a sannyasi
Hmm.
dedicated to the good of all humanity.
Right.
He cannot think of himself and his Sita and others. He cannot do
Yes.
that. So that is the big restraint. So you must have a heart to feel beyond your family. You can understand your mother is not well, you are taking care. Very good. But there
Right.
are so many people, and if you see the lives of direct disciples, you find even the other day, we had this Turyananji and others who would
Hmm.
go and nurse people.
Right.
They had cholera and they were left to die.
Oh,
The family, the people at that building did not take
they
care.
would.
So surreptitiously, the Swami would go and nurse her. And despite nursing her, and that woman would do everything to spread the disease, but undaunted, the Swami was doing it. And finally, that woman died. Now, what to do? Woman died. But who will cremate the body? That also nobody is coming forward. I have
Right.
seen in Bengal, in some of the colleges I was associated with, that people do this. Four, five, six people gather together, unclaimed bodies, they do the last rites.
Oh,
So you must have a heart to feel. If you don't feel
right.
for others, you are not a human being,
Right.
let alone a patriot. And then when you
Right.
find the misery of people, you try to find a solution. That is where you
Hmm.
need the head. You must be able to work out a solution which is practical.
Using the head. Right.
And the third is the hands to implement it, even in the face of a lot of opposition. People will oppose you. When somebody like
Right.
Modi wants to do something, people oppose. The
Right.
opposition is what? Opposition is the set of people who are supposed to oppose. That is how they live.
Right.
So, in that condition, also, you must do what you think is right. That is about patriotism. He has very clearly defined, I have an ideal of patriotism, and he defines a heart to feel, a head to conceive, and hands to implement. Then he has an
Beautiful.
ideal of what is the other thing, traitor. He says, I call every man a traitor who, having been educated at the expense of the masses, takes no heed for them, pays not the least heed to them.
Right.
So we people of India who are abroad and also in India, we must ask this question. Can we call ourselves patriotic? Do you have a concept of India as a nation? Do you
Right.
have a concept of Bharat, which has done
Right.
great contributions? This is the
Yes.
question we must ask ourselves. And regarding
Beautiful.
purity, purity is previously defined as morality, just morality.
Right.
But Swamiji said purity is unselfishness.
Okay.
That one virtue of unselfishness will ensure every other virtue, like truthfulness. It will bring in all its friends. So
Right.
if you strengthen any virtue, preferably unselfishness, and pour out what you have for the service of others, then that is purity.
Beautiful. Beautiful, Swamiji. That's really nice. In fact, I want to bring in another question by Kunal Chakraborty, who kind of asks you this question, which you answered it already. So the answer has come first, and then the question. The point is very simple. How can I guide the present youth and students to follow the guidelines of Swamiji? I think Kunal Chakraborty is a teacher, and maybe I should say that Swamiji gave the answers, and then I brought in the question. Maybe I should ask
Kunal Chakra,
Dr. Vishwanath
I
to
think,
respond to this.
no, Kunal Chakravarti, I know. If
Okay,
he is the same Kunal Chakravarti, he was a student also, and now he is a teacher also.
right,
Uh, he must be knowing that in educational institutions, because of the secular nature, religious ideas cannot be spread.
right,
So this is what I am always telling. So how do you spread the ideas of Swamiji when you cannot do it in educational institutions? When
right.
Swami time and again said, what did he say? The religion is the inner core of education. And
Beautiful.
you have education without religion. So there's a kind of imagination. So what we should do is we cannot go for institutions, established institutions. What we are doing is that what we are doing is spreading the ideas through the internet. We
Okay,
take the YouTube, to the FM radio, have animation videos, have comics, and
right. Swamiji is kind of lost out because of the bad connection problem. Maybe Dr. Vishwanath should answer that question. Like
Uh,
because Kunal Chakravarti is a teacher, he is
yeah.
asking what is the guidelines to use. So, Dr. Vishwanath, what do you think we should do to help
See,
the
if we look at
teachers?
our education system,
Right,
I'm not going backwards to the Gurukula state conditions.
right,
It's recent years I'm telling.
okay,
Whether you go to whatever maybe the education system, one important driving factor in India was in the education was what we call Pancha Mahayagnas or
okay,
duties.
right,
Nowadays, you see the family problems,
hmm,
old age, nobody is to take care of.
right,
The problems between the wife and the husband, and so many other things, even between children. What is that
uh-huh,
all due to? If you look back,
right,
no child in the school or any level is
right,
told about this Pancha Vignas,
yes,
not only to take care of this, even to take care of the environment.
yes,
See, there are Panchayagnas are nothing but our duty to our elders, our rishis, devatas, environment, parents,
right,
and even children are not heard about it. If you
yes,
had got those things
right,
and told actually briefly in a rough way, you had to keep you keep in mind these factors when the right opportunity comes, you have to implement that.
right.
We have absolutely no sense of duties, what we need to prevent the,
Yeah,
take care of the
see,
environment,
the culture,
being
the
parents.
Indic culture of sense of duties is almost disappeared. What has come in its place is
Yes,
a
yes,
modern narcissist culture of entitlements and rights.
Yeah.
Okay, so the whole point is like, I exist. What is in it for me? That's all. The only two statements. I exist. So what
Yes.
is it? What is in it for me? And if you look around people, they say, "Look, I want to grab power. Therefore,
Yes.
I'll throw you some breadcrumbs. That's what is in it for you." And that's how people are all kind of happy. But that's not what character development is all
And
about.
another
What you're
thing.
talking about is pancha yajnas. The
Yes.
word, the phrase is very nice. It's very Indic. This is something that needs to be communicated to the what do you call, children of the family in a big way. And many of us parents fail in a big way. I think that's a very important thing that Swami Vivekananda brought out.
Yes, yes.
And
Swamiji has brought during his work, complete works, if you read through, you
right,
may not use it directly, these pancha yagnas or duties or runas, what we call it in Sanskrit.
yes, yes,
That Swamiji has, talks about it in detail in various ways.
okay,
Otherwise, what is the kind of feeling you have? You may feel for
yes,
your family, but even that is disappearing today.
yes,
See, even feeling
yes.
for
Too much
family
of
members also disappear.
self-centeredness.
Yes,
Right, right,
because we,
right,
we we never told about this so-called five duties of human beings.
okay.
For the human beings, for the
And the
environment,
society.
for our devatas and rishis and all that. Otherwise, where from all these things like Matru Deva, Bhava, Pitru Deva, Bhava, and all those things, and Upanishads we read, they are all Swamiji has spoken of all these things at various points.
Right,
And we need to bring those thoughts and advices from Swami, messages from Swamiji, and try
right.
to follow it as things will work out by themselves.
Beautiful,
Unfortunately,
beautiful.
our education system does not touch those things because of so-called secularity and all this. I hope this
Agreed, agreed.
NEP,
So,
new
so
education policy, perhaps something will come. Those points are touched
I
actually.
agree with you, but as a pragmatic level for a teacher to be able to hint to the student that these are the kinds of gold nuggets that exist around you, leverage and become a better human being so you have a more happy, holistic, and meaningful life. That needs to be communicated. And what you're saying in so many words is, do it outside the framework of the current educational system, but still do it because you have access to the students, and let the students know that such diamonds and gold exists around them. That's the key thing that you are
See,
telling in so many
when I
words.
address the teachers, Mohan,
Uh-huh.
some how to tell about the human values when teaching physics,
Right.
history, and
Hmm.
social studies.
Yeah.
And one lady teacher came and said, "Sir, I am finding difficulty to bring human values when I teach mathematics."
Oh. I thought the person should just embody the human values and then
Yes,
teach the
naturally
mathematics.
it comes as if the teacher himself or herself is practicing it, the children will pick it up by
Right,
seeing
right, right. I think that
the
is the unsaid part of the communication. Right. Wonderful,
yes.
wonderful. Very nice. Good, good. So let me come back to the Puja Swamiji is here. Swamiji, we were discussing about the fact that teachers
Kuda.
have to share guidelines with the students. May not be formal, but at least if, when they live the values embodied by them kind of oozes out for the students to pick it up, and it happens in a, what do you call, the unsaid way rather than the formal, explicit, articulated way. This happens in the unsaid way, and that is why there's a big difference between the student-teacher relationship of that kind of students and teachers. Meaning, students is ready to pick it up, the teachers are ready to give. Both of them live it at the level of ideas which they are living, therefore things happen. And right now in the contemporary society, that kind of education system is missing. That's the kind of a takeaway that I get. So
Yeah.
Swamiji, there are three things that are kind of standing out with respect to Vivekananda, especially his message to the youth, the arousing call to the youth that he says. First is, of course, he wants youth to be people with nerves of steel and muscles of iron, essentially strong youth, spineful youth, not the spineless youth. That's point one. Point two, he talks about is tyaga and seva. And point three is, question is this. This has been an eternal message of all the rishis, and that's why Vivekananda is the best representative of our rishis and our heritage. He is the Yuga avatar. So Swamiji, how do you say that? Meaning, what do you need to say that this kinds of things are still very relevant in the contemporary society?
What's the third thing you said?
That he is the
After
best
Tyaga and
representative.
service?
Tyaga
Huh?
seva, tyaga
Then?
and seva. That is one. Second thing is
Then?
that he's essentially talked about
Muscles of iron,
muscles,
nerves of
nerves
steel.
of steel and muscles. So you have to have a spinefulness. And of course, third thing, that he is there as a role model. He was the best representative of our culture, the Yugavatar, to bring it out to the youth, right? And he embodies the success in the world, because today's youth aspire to go around the world. But then he did it about 100 plus years back, 125 years back. He did it successfully when everything and anything was so very hostile, and when it just could not happen at all. In that kind of circumstances, he made it happen. So he embodied those values. So Swamiji, I just wanted to
I
hear
will
from.
answer this question. But
Yes.
Kunal's question, one aspect which Dr. Viswanath should clarify, it is a very
Hmm.
interesting question.
Hmm.
The student does not know what the employer wants from him.
Right.
The student knows what he should get from the teacher, that's all. And the
Okay.
teacher knows that he should teach a subject.
Right.
But I have sat in interviews after interviews of students being taken by campus interview
Hmm.
and seen several levels they have to pass through.
Right.
First thing they say, take this tube light. You speak about the tube light for 5 minutes,
Okay.
or speak about your family for 5 minutes.
Hmm.
This has nothing to do with the subject.
Okay.
Then they go to another table, ask him to say something for a topic, and then
For it.
say, stop, now start, speak against the topic.
Hmm.
The adaptability to speak for and against, switching over,
Right.
that is
Right.
something very much missing. So this is something that the students must have, the ability to take the stand and change it within a moment's notice.
Right.
And then they will make some mistake in pronunciation.
Yes.
So then that person or lady, she will tell, this is the way you pronounce it. Repeat it.
Right.
And if he is not able to repeat it, if he is able
Right.
to repeat it, then she will not trainable.
Okay.
And after all these things, then comes to human resource development. How much he is a human resource.
Hmm.
And last is technical skill.
Right.
The stand is, for my company, the technical skill, what is needed, I will give you. I don't
Okay.
want it from your college,
Okay.
but I want these basic things.
Okay.
So if
So.
the teacher can impress upon the student that these
Right.
are the essential things that a person is looking for, you, if you're not honest, for
Right.
example, you're working for a company and in collusion with others, so much money is getting out of this bank,
Right.
and the NPA level is going up because
Hmm.
characterless.
Yes.
So when you're going to employ somebody, you will see in household they will pay, they will keep some 10 rupees, and if the maid servant picks it up, then they will understand, oh, this lady is not trustworthy. So they
Right.
have checks and balances to find whether the person is a play person who can be recruited or not merely technical knowledge. So
Right.
this is something. And the second question which you ask now, every building has a foundation,
Yes.
and the foundation of ourselves is a strong body,
Right.
and on that you must have a strong mind.
Yes.
Strong mind means morality, unselfishness, all the virtues.
Right.
And further up, you must have a strong spiritual sense. And
Right.
in the realization that you are not matter, but you are a divine particle. And when
Right.
you have this idea that you are a divine being, you see the same divine being all around, and your
Yes.
interpersonal relationship becomes sweet. So,
Beautiful.
because Swamiji attained to all these three things, he is a role model.
Beautiful.
Finally, we have to
Beautiful.
reach to that spiritual height.
Yes.
Okay.
In fact, Swamiji, I would say that you have answered some question which Tirmal Prasad wanted to ask. He says, be and make is easier said than practiced. Please give how to achieve this be and make, ultimate aim in man making and nation building. Be and make. So maybe you answered and then he asked the question. So I should ask Dr. Vishwanath, what do you have to add to this, sir? How to achieve this be and make?
See, Swamiji, when he made the statement, be and make, he
Mhm.
meant be spiritual and make others also spiritual.
Okay,
Maybe he's not expecting that kind of answer here. I
right.
would say be and instead of be and make, I simply replace it by be good and do good.
Okay,
That will
All right.
introduce in a worldly sense. Yes, you be good means what all the value system should enter them to be
Okay.
good. And to do
All
good
right.
means all your feelings and what that 3H which Maharaj
Head,
told
hand,
hand,
and heart.
and, that also should come there. Be good and do good.
Beautiful.
So I think
Wonderful.
that should answer this.
Yeah. I think it's about 1 hour, 15 minutes now, 1 hour, 10 minutes over. And we are kind of coming to the end of this program. And there
Three
is
minutes.
one question that youngster had asked, and he kind of posed it to me, and I just wanted to briefly answer this. He says, uh, question to Mohan sir, what is youth day for you? I said, well, this is what I do. I'd like to reach out to youth, bringing in the wisdom and the messages of the elderly people who have successfully lived and benefited by following Puja Swami Vivekananda. That is what Youth Day is for me. Thank you, Mayur. So, on that
Half a
note,
minute.
yes,
Half a
on that
minute.
note, yes, yes, Maharaj,
So
please,
then
please.
be and make.
Yes,
There's a very important illustration given in Katha, in the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna.
okay,
So a patient went to a doctor. The doctor
mm,
examined him and told him, "Come next week."
okay,
So the fellow went. Why next week? Why not today? So
mm,
next week, when he went there, he said, "Avoid pickles. Don't
avoid,
take pickles."
okay,
Then he was thinking that damn fellow could have told then itself to
mm-hmm,
tell this that I must avoid pickles. He waited for me to go home, spend a week, and then come all the way. And he is saying this. He could have told then itself. The doctor said that day I was having a lot of pickles in my chamber. If I
oh,
had told you avoid pickles, you would not believe me. That
right,
is why B is important. Unless you be, they are only sermonizing.
right,
Practice what you preach. You
mm-hmm,
can only preach what you practice. Then only
right,
it will have the power of conviction. I say, tell the truth. And you catch
right,
me telling lies. Ah, this fellow I know. He tells lies. Only gives lectures, tell the truth. So that is why be and make is important.
wonderful,
Nation.
wonderful,
You love the nation, you show it by your action. So
yes,
the other example was also given about environmental and all that. What about that girl, the lady who planted so many trees?
right,
So many trees. Is it
right,
not to avoid this greenhouse pollution? So
yes,
such people get awarded in the present regime with Padma Shri and
right,
all that. So when you
beautiful,
recognize merit in a
right.
person working for the nation unselfishly, not expecting anything, and recognized, then people will do it.
Wonderful, wonderful. On that note, I would like to request, thank Puja Swamiji for taking time off. He is a little unwell, but in spite of it, he has kind of been very gracious to bless us with his words of wisdom. Like to thank Dr. Vishwanath and like to thank all the members of the audience who are watching this video and who stand to gain from it. I would like to request Puja Swamiji to share the Jaikara.
जय श्री गुरु महाराज जी की जय. जय महामाई की जय. जय स्वामी जी महाराज जी की जय. जय गंगा माई की जय. जय श्री श्री काली माई की जय.
Thank you, Puja Swamiji. Thank you, Dr. Vishwanath.
Thank you,
And
thank you.
thanks to all the audience. There's a very nice program that we have had on the National Youth Day, connecting two young people, if I may kind of say so, who have benefited from the vision of Swami Vivekananda in a very big way over the past 50 plus years. And this kind of unique program, I don't think must have had happened anywhere else across the world. But then it is all there for people to view it at a later point of time. So it can be done on YouTube, it could be done on Facebook. Please subscribe to and click on the notification button of the Vivekananda Janoththana Trust YouTube channel or the Facebook page, and you'll be notified of such programs happening in the hours, days, months, and years to come. Thank you. On that note, Jai Hind.
Namaste to all.
Namaste. Namaste. Namaste.
Namaste to all.
Namaste, namaste. Thank you, Mohan.